through the TV, radio, and the internet. Please follow these guidelines so that we can have a warm and safe winter. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM, 부산영어방송.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
Let me start with a question for all of you today. Is your workplace holding an end-of-the-year party or gathering? Well, maybe, but maybe not. The usual end-of-the-year festivities may be more subdued than normal due to both economic and, of course, political factors. And, of course, let's talk about the high prices of everything coupled with the impeachment protests and the lingering effects of martial law. Well, uncertainty is the biggest enemy of the economy. We know this. And unfortunately, the country is living through a period of uncertainty as we wrap up 2024. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Wednesday, December 11th on BEFM, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. I hope you're all doing well. And, I wish we could talk about, bright and happy things as we are well in the midst of December, the last month of the year. And it's really been cold, right? Has it not? And for some businesses, I think it's going to be even colder. And I'm not talking about the temperature. Well, the streets do seem emptier than usual. And bars, restaurants, not as bustling with end-of-the-year parties as maybe years past. So, of course, it's, not as bad as during the early, days or months of COVID-19. But the concerns are with what may happen if the ongoing political uncertainties continue. So first, with hotels in the popular Seoul area near the capital, any area there, which also happens to be the sites of these pro or anti-impeachment protests. So let's talk about one hotel near Gwanghwamun that said that some foreign visitors have canceled their reservations after martial law was declared. And we all know that it was very, it was implemented and then, done in like a few hours. But they're still seeing the after effects of this. And they are seeing a drop in restaurant reservations for the weekends, likely due to concerns about the traffic situation. The atmosphere is definitely more tense for neighborhoods where business depends heavily on public institutions and civil servants. Because of the nature of their jobs, many civil servants have apparently voluntarily canceled their end-of-the-year get-togethers. So that is what's going on across the country, but especially in the capital area. And some areas like Daejeon, Sejong, and parts of Seoul with a higher concentration of public workers have seen about half of their reservations get canceled in the span of a week. So the logistics and retail sectors are also eyeing the situation carefully. While things are fairly stable on this front, extended political turmoil could carry over to the economy. So this end of the year period is supposed to be very festive and bright and happy and merry. But for some businesses, the mood is anything but any of those feelings, right? Political stability does lead to economic stability. And the country is really in need of both. And we need it like right now, don't we? Anyhow, let's talk about something pleasant. We're celebrating Hangang's win. And we're talking about the Nobel Prize in Literature this morning. And she said her works are based on love. So poetic, just even that. What have you done or are willing to do for the people or things you love? How far have you gone? How far are you willing to go for that person. And by the way, I don't mean just romantic love. I'm talking about family love. It could be your pet. It could be your love of anything. It doesn't have to be a person that you're romantically interested in is the whole point. 자, 오늘 아침에 한강 작가의 노벨상 수상 the whole ceremony, you might have watched it or seen the clips. 아마 클립 보셨을 수도 있는데요. 축하하고 있는데요. 모든 질문은 사랑이었다. 모든 게 사랑이었다라고 한 한강 작가. So the question is this. 내가 사랑을 위해서 나는 이것까지 해봤다. 혹은 이것까지 할 수 있다. 근데 그냥 우리가 생각하는 남자 여자 무슨 그런 사랑이 아니고 we're talking about like let's see 음식 사랑, 조카 사랑, 부모님 사랑일 수도 있고요. Your kids 자식 사랑하잖아요. Well, sometimes. So how far are you willing to go? Put yourself on the line. How far does that love reach? You can send in your responses to BFM's live stream, live chat on YouTube. So go to the channel and type in BEFM or 부산영어방송 to find our channel. Click on our channel, subscribe, log in, and you're good to go. You can chat away with our other waivers. Also on your phone, pound 9050 샵 9050. That's going to cost you 101. You can also reach me for free on Kakao Talk. Same thing there. To find our channel, type in BEFM or 부산영어방송 to find it. Also, the ways you can listen to us, 90.5, 103.3 FM. That's on the radio if you're in the Busan area. Like I said, we are streaming live on YouTube. You can watch right now if you're joining us, or you can watch later at your leisure. Also available on 2 apps. So we have the Papang app and our own BEFM app as well. So it is it only Wednesday? It is. It's hump day. So we have Leon coming in for hashtag fact check, Jennifer with Skills 101. For a special interview in hour number 2, we're going to be focusing on what has been happening in Syria. So Bashar al-Assad, he has fled to Russia. He and his family, they have, sought political asylum, and apparently that's been granted. So now we want to know about the aftermath of this. After this in decades rule of the Assad family, what happens now? That's coming up in hour number 2. I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:07. These are today's headlines. National Assembly mandates special counsel on martial law incidents. The National Assembly passed a bill mandating a permanent special counsel to investigate insurrection charges against President Yoon Suk-yeol, former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun, Army Chief of Staff General Park Han-soo, and other officials involved in the martial law declaration. National Assembly passes downsized 2025 budget bill. The National Assembly yesterday passed a 673.3 trillion won budget for next year, marking the first time in constitutional history that a budget plan submitted by the government was passed without bipartisan agreement. Court approves arrest warrant for ex-defense minister. The Seoul Central District Court issued an arrest warrant for former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun for his role in the short-lived martial law imposition last week. Han Gang receives Nobel Prize in Literature. Novelist Han Gang received a diplomat and a Nobel medal from Sweden's King Carl Gustaf XVI during a ceremony Tuesday local time at the concert hall in Stockholm, Sweden. Israel strikes hundreds of military targets in Syria. The Israel Defense Forces, or IDF, confirmed it carried out attacks on more than 350 targets across Syria, including the country's naval fleet, to neutralize its military assets. time to check in with Sue for Busan Updates. Let's say hi to her first. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm so excited to hear about your response to our text topic. So how far have you gone or are willing to go for something, someone you love? So let's get your response.
Right. So first thing, so my family sometimes say that like I'm selfish. So I'm trying to prove how unselfish I am to them.
Really? Okay.
So by, trying to be obedient and be nice to everything they ask me to do.
That's your way of showing love.
Yes.
Oh.
And how far have I gone in Canada? It's quite personal.
Oh, you've literally how far have you gone? Oh, to Canada. Oh.
Yes. My ex-boyfriend said that not to put on any makeup. So I was like, I couldn't understand. But just for the sake of loving him, I was like, yeah,
You
okay.
went with no makeup.
No makeup. Like when I was going to work or school.
Interesting. Okay. So you're willing to go with, I don't know. If somebody I love said, Kat, I prefer you with no makeup, I'd be like, see ya. You're so nice. How dare you touch the makeup? No, just kidding. But that's how nice of a person Sue is. Well, we're going to jump into our first update. So let's talk about what's happening with the KTX-이음's upcoming operation. So first, tell us what this is first, right?
Yes, KTX-이음 is a semi-high-speed rail brand and train operated by Korail, Korea Railroad Corporation. Currently, it's running between Seoul and parts of the Gyeongbuk region.
Yes.
And is scheduled to expand and fully connect to Busan's Busan station by next year. But the specific station stops for this service are still under discussion. So the KTX-이음 is making a lot of interest as it becomes the first rail line to pass through the eastern Busan area, including key tourist destinations like Haeundae-gu and Gijanggun.
Yes. So how did the local governments respond after this announcement?
Right. And this sparked a lot of intense competition among local governments in the Dongbusan권 to secure a station stop. So local officials are pushing to have stations in their districts to boost tourism and improve regional connectivity. So for example, residents of Haeundae-gu organized a KTX-이음 station hosting rally. So they emphasized their community's demand for additional train stops in their area.
Yes.
And the Haeundae-gu mayor also visited the headquarters of Korail to deliver a formal petition and carried out a one-person protest to advocate for station inclusion.
So anything else that we need to know about the story?
Yes, but despite these efforts, it's possible that all other proposed stops might fail to be included. So there is growing concern that only Busan Station may secure a stop on the 이음 line.
I see. Well, thanks for explaining this part. But what about the position of the Ministry of the Land, Infrastructure, and Transport, the 국토교통부? What do they say?
So they have been getting a lot of pressure. So with the petitions and complaints from local governments across the country.
Yes.
So in response, 국토교통부 has repeatedly delayed its announcement of the final station list. So it's making the decision-making process more complex and sensitive.
I see.
So, like I said before, aside from Busan Station, other proposed stops in the eastern Busan area might ultimately be excluded from the final route.
I see a lot of areas and the people that live in these areas might be disappointed, but thank you for reporting on this story. Very important. But for now, we're going to move on. 73% of residents near the Munhyeon overpass or Mun현고가 in Busan have expressed their desire for the demolition of this, right?
Yes. So the 문현고가 overpass was initially considered for demolition as part of the redevelopment of the Busan North Port area.
Yes.
And in connection with the city's bid for the 2030 World Expo. But after the expo bid was unsuccessful,
yes,
the demolition plan was put on hold and faded from the public agenda.
Right. So let's go over why the residents want it to be demolished, or they just basically want it to be gone.
Yes. So The use of the 문현고가 by local residents
Yes.
has been relatively low. So 57.4% of the local residents responded that they rarely use the overpass. So the low rate is a key factor in the growing support for its demolition.
Ah, yes, yes. So what are some of the other reasons?
And other reasons are that the overpass obstructs the urban landscape, harming the city's aesthetic appeal, and there are concerns about pollution, hindrance to regional development, and potential negative effects on property values.
I see. So that's what's going on with the 문현고가, the Munhyeon overpass in our city, and the residents respond to such. Well, let's move on to some other news in Ulleungdo and Dokdo. Some tropical fish species have been found. So let's hear about this.
Yes, according to 한국해양과학기술원, the Korea Institute of Ocean Science and Technology, researchers have identified 2 new species of fish that had not been previously recorded in South Korea, along with 14 species that had not been reported in the area before. So this marks a significant change in the local marine ecosystem because it reflects the broader impacts of global warming on ocean environments.
Right.
So from September to November, an ecological survey was conducted in the waters around Ulleungdo and Dokdo, specifically at the 서도 흑돔 cave and in Dokdo and Namnyang 물새바위 rock off the southern coast of Ulleungdo. So because of the rising sea temperatures,
Yes.
it's allowing warm water fish species typically found in southern waters to migrate into the East Sea.
So this clearly shows us how climate change is really affecting our environment, really affecting even the marine biodiversity. All right, well, now let's talk about this. We've covered this before on our show, single-person households, but here in Busan specifically, in Busan, a significant portion of single-person households are basically elderly individuals who are living on their own, correct?
Right. On the national level, the number of single-person household makes up 36.4% of all households in Korea.
Yes.
In Busan, there are 530,000 people. So among them, elderly person living alone makes up a big proportion.
Yes.
And seniors aged 70 or older accounts for 22.7%. And that is the highest percentage among the 8 major metropolitan cities. So in comparison, Seoul's proportion is 14.1%.
Wow, so there is a big gap there already. I'm also curious about the type of housing that single-person households tend to live in.
Yes, they mostly live in detached homes, 단독주택, and living in apartments is quite low. And 7 out of 10 single-person household members were non-homeowners.
I see. And what are some of the reasons behind these individuals living alone?
So the primary reason is the death of their spouse. And it is followed by education or work status and the desire to live alone. And additionally, 2.6% of single-person households reported difficulty in maintaining a balanced diet. And 37.5% said they struggle to handle emergencies or health issues on their own. And among single-person households, 47.9% consider their overall health to be good, which is 5.9% points lower than the general population.
I see. So those are the reasons. And what might their leisure activities include, though?
Yes, their most preferred leisure activity is watching TV. And it is followed by walking and hiking and meeting friends, dating, or attending meetups and blind dates.
And this is important to know because, once again, a bigger proportion of the Busan population happens to be single-person households. So we're going to call it a wrap for Busan Updates. And by the way, we have a message for you, Sue.
Really?
One of our listeners, they're saying that's why he is an ex. Now, referring to, yes, your comment regarding the text topic. But anyhow, thank you. We'll check in with you tomorrow.
Thank you.
And I'll be back in just a moment. right, it's now time for our traffic and weather. There is congestion on the Dongso overpass from Hwangryum ramp to the old Daegum tollgate right now. Also looking backed up on Baegang Gwanmun from Baegang Tunnel Ogui intersection to Baegang Tunnel. Also looking slow on Byeonglo from Suyeong overpass to Suyeong Tunnel. It is currently 3 degrees Celsius under partially cloudy skies. The daytime high is expected to go up to 12 degrees today, and there's a dry weather special alert in place over Busan. Looking across the country, cloudy in most parts, and parts of Gangwon and Gyeongbuk might see light rain or snow. There is heavy fog in some inland areas, so be aware of this. Be careful out on the roads. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time to check in with Haley. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. First of all, text topic time. So, how far have you gone or are willing to go for love?
Kimhae Airport. I will pick.
Literally,
I
Kimhae
will
Airport.
pick you
Okay.
up and drop you off at the airport. Even if it is not even I can't say that. Even the crack of dawn. I was gonna add something,
But not
no,
that.
No, we're on air, Haley. Yeah, I've done that 2 days ago, and I will have to do that. I don't know, whenever my parents come back. So I'll do that. In terms of how far am I willing to go for things I love? Things. Let's talk about things. Food. There's this 회덮밥 that I really like.
Okay.
A place. It's in Gyeongju.
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 Okay.
I've definitely driven there.
Yes. Just for the hedokbap.
And then I, went to the museum, but it was because we already spent the gas to come here.
But the number
Might
one
as well.
reason was for
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
the raw vegetable rice. Ooh.
So good. I'll give you the
Yeah, give us
Come
the deets.
come to our YouTube. Yeah.
Wow, you are willing to go far. Actually,
Farther for food than
your
for family.
parents.
I mean, I don't know. Speaking of selfish, team selfish, anyone? Yeah.
I want to read one message for now from 고수 Waver who says 저는 사랑하는 아내 딸 위해 할 수 있는 건 물질적인 것보다 건강한 마음으로 전하고 싶어요. 영상 편지 이런 거 음악 깔고
Should we-
가야 되는 거 아니에요?
Would you like to come to the station?
Yes. Or maybe you can actually send in your message and then we'll read it for you.
Yeah.
We'll pretend we're you. So 보내보시면 제가 한번
최선을
읽어보도록
다해서.
해보겠습니다.
We'll try.
All right, let's jump into our first bit of news. We're going to begin with the investigation into the martial law declaration. What's going on?
Right. So yesterday we heard a lot of statements come out of the Parliamentary Defense Committee, which convened an urgent session.
Yes.
So revelations from key military officials of premeditation and orders to be on standby and even apparently to break down the doors to the parliament. So these comments came from the Army Special Warfare Commander Kwak Jong-gun, who's the 특전사령관,
Yes.
who said that President Yoon Suk-yeol called him directly on a secure line and told him allegedly that it seems that the parliament doesn't have enough lawmakers to meet quorum at that point.
Yes.
Quorum in Korean is 의결 정족수. And the president allegedly ordered the military to break down the doors if necessary and, quote, drag out the lawmakers.
Wow.
끌어내다. He also testified in front of the National Assembly that the ex-defense minister, Kim Yong-hyun, allegedly told him that the number of lawmakers inside the parliament building cannot go above 150, because at which point they could have voted to strike down martial law.
Yes.
By the way, the ex-defense minister, according to figures from lawmaker Hwang Jung-ah from telecom companies, since the martial law declaration, he has apparently changed his cell phone 3 different times. and presumably and allegedly to destroy evidence.
Yes.
By the way, going back to the commander Kwak, he said that he contemplated the order. However, officials on the scene said that it cannot be done or should not be done, and he agreed. Also in the Parliament building was the commander of the 707th Special Missions Group, Kim Hyun-tae, who also corroborated the story.
Yes.
Kwak said that he knew about the details of martial law a day before martial law was issued. However, he was given duties to secure the parliament, the National Election Commission offices, the Democratic Party headquarters, and a public opinion research company. However, he said that these orders came down without the title of martial law, so he thought it was just for some special operations.
Well, that is a lot. A lot of stuff was said and unfolded yesterday. And there are currently 3 different institutions handling the investigation or investigations, all 3 claiming that they should be the one leading said investigation.
Right. So there's kind of a territorial dispute going on as to who has jurisdiction. So we're talking about 3 institutions, the police, the prosecution via their special investigative headquarters, 특수본, and the CIO or 공수처, the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials.
Right.
So far, the prosecution seems to have made the most headway. It's, of course, not a race, but they've put the ex-defense minister Kim Yong-hyun under arrest. The prosecution is also working with the military's prosecution, and they've conducted raids over some key areas, including the Defense Counterintelligence Command, or the DCC. DCC, which is abbreviated to 방첩사, it is accused of attempting to arrest major politicians and having allegedly involved in planning and executing the martial law orders.
All right, so let's talk about the police. Where are the police on this?
Right. So up until pretty much yesterday, there has been criticism internally that they were falling behind on both the prosecution and the CIO. However, overnight, that's kind of flipped. So in another bit of breaking news, the Police Special Investigations Team, they've put their own chiefs under arrest. So we're talking about the head of the National Police Agency, Cho Ji-ho, and the chief of Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency, Kim Bong-sik, who have been put to arrest on insurrection charges early this morning. And this is the first time that the police have arrested its own top leaders, both at the same time. So the 2 face charges of having allegedly ordered the police officers and units to block entry to the National Assembly building during martial law declaration. Chief of Police Cho facing additional charges of having sent officers to the National Election Commission or NEC offices.
Okay.
Cho apparently told the police that he himself gave the order to block entry to the National Assembly the first time around. However, after the decrees were handed down, it was Martial Law Commander Park An-soo who requested further forces be sent to block entry to the Parliament building.
I see.
By the way, the police have 48 hours to question these individuals under urgent detention. After that point, they need to either release them or request an arrest warrant to further detain them.
Right, so that's the police. And now let's turn our attention to the CIO. So where are they on this?
Right, so CIO, if you're not familiar, they're kind of a special law enforcement unit that is designated to investigating corruptions within high-ranking government officials.
That's right.
공수처. So they have actually requested the police and the prosecution to basically give them the right of investigation. Because if you think about it, these officials who are under investigation from the president on, they are high-ranking government officials.
Like literally.
So their argument is that this is their jurisdiction. So jurisdiction is a problem. And the problem is who determines it? Well, usually it is the presidential office or the prime minister's office that kind of gives directives of you have the jurisdiction.
Right.
Unfortunately, the president and those within the office are kind of party to or subject to such investigations.
Yes.
So this is where we stand.
Wow. So not clear at this point who is going to be heading all of this. Well, let's go to the impeachment vote itself. The first time round fell through this past Saturday. It failed to meet the necessary number of votes. And now the Democratic Party, or DP, has vowed to reintroduce the impeachment vote this coming Saturday. So we're on Wednesday. We're kind of building up to the weekend. What could be different this time around?
Well, let's go back to the last Saturday, where it had at least 192 votes from the opposition.
Yes.
The National Assembly needed 8 more to get to 200 to pass the impeachment motion. It seems like for the time being, the opposition parties will secure at least 3 of these votes from the ruling People Power Party, PPP. So one definitely from An Cheol-soo, who was the sole person who remained inside the National Assembly Hall.
Yes.
And then Kim Hye-ji, who came back to cast her vote. And then she said in an interview with the BBC yesterday for the first time that she did vote in favor of the impeachment, adding that she puts her duties as an elected representative above the party. And then the man of the hour at that point, Kim Sang-wook, a representative from Namgu, Ulsan, he's the one who rushed back and voted, but later told the press, this was last Saturday, that he had to follow party line. And at least that time he voted against the impeachment.
Yes.
However, he too convened a press conference yesterday and said that martial law was a national crime. And he agrees with the impeachment and called on the president to apologize and step down immediately. So at least it seems that this coming week he will vote in favor of the impeachment.
Okay.
Tides may be turning. Some within the PPP, in the especially pro-Han Dong-un faction, they are of the opinion that they should at least participate in the vote. And although how they will vote is unclear, and several lawmakers have said that they will participate.
So this Saturday, we'll see what happens, of course, with the vote. For a final martial law related story, one messenger app saw a huge increase in downloads since this all went down.
Right. And we're talking about Telegram. And by the way, keep in mind that this is just the news. We're not promoting or even telling you to go there. But its downloads quadrupled since martial law's declaration.
Okay.
Kind of what some outlets are calling as people seek digital asylum, 디지털 망명. And because if you remember, on the night of martial law announcement, Monday night, new Telegram downloads, we kind of had problems accessing some portal sites, including Naver and Taum, which is owned by Kakao. Some people are wondering, does this have to do with martial law? The government didn't block access, but people were just rushing to these major news portals, and that experienced traffic issues. On the night of martial law announcement, Telegram downloads apparently accounted for nearly half of all new application downloads for that night. So it seems that some people with the traffic issues on domestic sites, they sought out Telegram as backup. And this is kind of a double-edged sword because just last week, the week before, Telegram's this kind of notoriety, infamy, or just being famous for not complying with law enforcement was a problem because we're handling these deep fake investigations.
Sure.
However, from the very beginning, Telegram came out of Russia, or at least Russian nationals who were trying to evade government's crackdown against free speech. And this is why they rarely ever comply with law enforcement requests.
Yes.
So that's that. And then there were also reports that ex-defense minister Kim Yong-hyun allegedly deleted his Telegram account and signed up again and got multiple new phones, raising accusations that once again he tried to destroy evidence.
Yes. So that is it for the martial law stories. Let's move on to some good news.
Palate cleanser.
Yeah, definitely. Hangang received her Nobel medal and a diploma, and there is some attention over how the country that hands out the Nobel Prize itself, Sweden, is working on promoting reading.
Right. So let's hear a clip from this morning's award ceremony.
Dear Hangang, on behalf of the Swedish Academy, it is my privilege to convey to you our warmest congratulations on the Nobel Prize in Literature 2024. May I now please ask you to step forward and receive your prize from His Majesty the King.
We were excited.
Yeah, we were excited. We're like, we know him.
One of them.
Victor Ambrose. He was on our program.
He
Another
was.
Nobel laureate.
He was.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, we can vouch one of the nicest people.
Ever.
Yes. Period. Yeah.
Just not because he was on our
Not
program.
just in the studio, but like
Generally,
yeah,
she's a
generally
really good
lovely person.
Yes.
Right.
So
Yeah, so
Let's talk
now
about
that
Hangang.
we've name dropped, let's talk about
Yes.
Hangang. Well, the Swedish Education Ministry. So we're going to talk about reading in general because, as Hangang said, literature gives you the power to look into the minds of other people through the works and then ultimately to your own perspectives. So the Swedish Education Ministry has named a curriculum or curricula researcher to come up with a proposal to increase students' reading and reading comprehension. It's top issue, 문해력, right? The Swedish government also introduced a bill that seeks to build libraries with trained librarians in every single school to increase access. Because the goal right now for them is to prioritize paper books on paper instead of ebooks. Actually, Sweden has the world's highest reading rate at 85.7% of adults of the public having read at least one book in the span of
high.
a year. That's high.
Yes.
This was back in 2013. They fell into kind of panic mode because the figure dropped below 80% to like 79% in 2022.
But I gotta ask, where is South Korea on that?
So if the world's highest, reading population is reading, 79%, South Korea, 43%. Of adults have read at least one book per year, which means 57% have not. So, I mean, in panic,
We're not shaming people,
right? But yes, but that's 43%.
Yeah.
Anyways, Hangang herself has also spoken out about literature education, calling for education that trains the muscle. Because, by the way, reading is a muscle. Because I used to be able to, read Dostoevsky in high school because I was forced to. But you take a break from reading because, adulthood, I don't know, and then online, the internet. And then you try to read something even smaller and you can't. Because reading is a muscle. And we have a Nobel laureate who can vouch for this. So she said, people do need to train this on school levels without this being stopped by college admissions until last through middle and high school.
Yes, indeed. So now that we all felt that little twinge of guilt,
Pang
maybe
of
some
guilt.
of us, maybe not Leslie, but maybe not Haley, but some of us did to read more. Thank you for checking and all the news, going over all the details. And of course, we'll check in with you in hour number 2. Listeners, though, I do want to read this message before we get to our first song break because it's such, this is from 친절한 레일라 웨이버. 저는 15년을 영어 강사로 열심히 그리고 행복하게 살았는데요. 사랑하는 아이와의 저녁이 있는 삶을 위해 2년을 준비해서 공무원으로 직업을 바꿨어요. So, wow, to paraphrase, 15 years of being an English, educator, and she really did enjoy it. However, in order to be with her child in the evening hours, because, if you're working, for example, at a hagwon, the hours, you have to keep late hours. So getting ready for the civil servant exam for 2 years and now has changed her profession, that is love. Right there personified. So thank you for sharing that message with us. All right, we are going to get to our song break though. This is 행복 by Super Junior as requested by Benny.
번도 난 너를 잊혀본 적 없어 오직 그대만을 생각했는걸 너는 뭐야 날 잊었던 거야 지금 내 눈에서 눈물 흘러 배신감 널 찾아갈까 생각했어 난 잘 모르겠어 이 세상이 돌고 있는 지금 난 너밖에 없지 할 말이 없어 할 수도 없어 눈물도 없어 느낌도 없어 내 앞에 서 있는 날 바라봐 널 위해 살아있는 약속된 시간이 왔어요 그대 옆에 있어요 두려움에 울고 있지만 눈물을 닦아주었어요 그때 내 손잡아줘 이뤄낼 거야 함께 해준 그대에게 행복을 적 없어 오직 그대만을 생각했는걸 그런 너는 뭐야 날 잊었던 거야 내 눈에서 눈물을 너 배신가 약속된 시간이 왔어요 그대 앞에 있어요 두려움에 울고 있지만 눈물을 닦아주었어요 그때 내 손잡았죠 일어날 거야 함께 해준 그대에게 행복을 눈 감고 그대 그려요 맘속 그대 찾아줘 나를 밝혀주는 빛이 보여요 나 행복을 놓칠 순 없죠 그대 나 보이나요 나를 불러줘요 그대 곁에 있을 거야 너를 사랑해 함께해요 그대와요 저 파랑새들이 전해주는 행복이라는 건 늘 우리 곁에 가까이 있는 거죠 눈 감고 그대 그려요 맘속 그대 찾아줘 나를 밝혀주는 빛이 보여요 행복을 놓칠 순 없죠 그대 나 보이나요 나를 불러줘요 언제라도 그대 마음을 열어보아요 내가 있어요 나를 불러줘요 그대 곁에 있을 거야 너를 사랑해 함께해요 그대와 영원히
It's time for Cat's Pick. And for today, we are going to talk about another pick from Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Their pick for word of the year is, well, I'm going to let you listen to the clip. This is from AP.
So the word of the year for 2024 from Merriam-Webster is polarization. Obviously, this year was a year with an important election. The elections were clearly the story of the year. Polarization is the term that has been used by everyone.
Can be tied back to the polarization that we
Because people are very polarized.
The world today is very polarized.
I will also say that polarization, it means division, but it's a very specific kind of division. I mean, the word division just means split, so that could be divided very closely. There are other words like tribalism, which means that people have sort of pre-existing ideas and ideals. But polarization really means separated. It means the extremes, which we identify as poles, which originally, of course, was a geographic reference or a mathematical reference. And I think that idea of the dictionary as being a kind of backstop for meaning in an era of fake news, alternative facts, you know, whatever you want to say about the value of a word's meaning in the culture, at least the dictionary can measure that meaning in a very specific way for everyone. This is a word that came in the 1800s, much, much later, because when they were starting to talk about polarization, you were talking about both visual science, so whether, and that's why we say polarized sunglasses, for example, and also electricity itself. The way that we use electricity, it depends upon, you know, two different poles. And so it came in as a scientific term, and it came in the early 1800s. And I find that interesting just because in 1,000 years of English, that's a pretty young word, actually.
Polarization. So in Korean, that's 양극화, and actually started from science. 편광 is another way to describe it. 그건 과학적으로 표현하는 거고요. Very sharply distinct two opposites. Really describes what may be happening in our world right now, don't you think? And this was Cat's Pick for today. We have Leon in the studio for hashtag fact check. Or the Pastel Sisters, right?
I was looking at the monitor. I was like, ooh, I like our color tones.
I know. We're dreaming of spring art, and it's only early, like late fall, early winter.
It was so dark this morning.
I know.
I was
depressing, right?
It was like dark winter.
Oh, I wish I'm going to squeeze it in.
Yes.
How far have you gone? Would you go for love?
Would I go? How far have I gone for love?
어디까지 할 수
Sleeping
있어요?
like what's this one? Like sleeping 2 to 3 hours for 3 days a week
For
to
love? To what?
meet my husband, back then my boyfriend.
Oh.
Because we did a long distance.
Oh,
so
long
Busan and
D.
Seoul, and then
Yeah, yeah,
his
yeah.
work required for him to stay in Busan.
And you were
so
in
I
Seoul.
had to come visit him. But I had morning shifts in Seoul where I had to go to work by 4 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
So I would take the 11 o'clock train from Busan.
That's real love. 찐 love. 찐사랑.
Sleep in the train for 3 hours and then go to work right away.
Oh, your
And
ex-boyfriend.
then I started getting like mouth sores,
Oh,
like
no,
rips.
cake sores. Yeah, yeah.
cake sores. And I was just like, my eyes were like super red. But I was like, this is love.
And hence, here we are.
Hence, here I am in Busan talking to you.
I know. So it worked out. Well,
Yes.
let's dive into our topic for
Yes. So
this. Yes.
today I want to talk about something more relevant with the rise of digital content creators,
Yes.
YouTubers, and the issue of tax.
Oh.
So have you ever wondered, how does this taxing system work for all those YouTubers earning those big bucks out there?
Right.
Are they paying their taxes?
Are they paying? And, let's be
Are they
honest, we're
paying
all
up?
thinking they should be.
Yes.
We hope they're paying their taxes. Yes.
Right.
All right.
Because, YouTubers, they earn from, of course, the ads that appear on their videos, some sponsorships, and now they have what they call the memberships as well. So they are actually considered self-employed or independent contractors. And I found out that there's a category for these people called one-person media creators. So they are basically talking about the group of YouTubers or online streamers who earn money and they can register under that category as a business.
I see.
So unlike employees who receive regular paychecks with, taxes deducted already, because YouTubers are technically considered self-employed, they are responsible for reporting their earnings themselves and
Yes.
paying for their taxes themselves as well. So in Korea, income from YouTube is classified as, again, business income. And if you're uploading content regularly
Yes.
and earning these ad revenue, the government views you as running a business on your own and you'd be safe to report your
I
earnings and pay your
see.
taxes.
Well, we want to know, how does the National Tax Service, the NTS,
Right.
how do they know how much money, profit, is like coming into the YouTubers? How do they know?
Good question. So
Yes.
the main source of income for YouTubers
Yes.
is from Google AdSense, which
Okay.
is the Google advertising service, and they pay the YouTubers based on the ad views and also the clicks, the amount of clicks that the videos get.
Yes.
And these payments come from from Google's Singapore office, and they are sent to the YouTuber's designated account here in Korea in the form of US dollars. And Korean banks are required to report any transactions coming from overseas that's over $10,000 to the NTS.
Okay.
And so they're naturally tracking these earnings. They're keeping an eye
I
on all
see.
these foreign incomes.
Yes. So here's another question. Do you think, the whole idea of like YouTubers being taxed on their total income, and then we all do, is it like the before expenses, after expenses?
Yes.
People might be wondering.
Right. Actually, YouTubers, yes, they can report their expenses as well.
Okay.
This can include costs for their equipment, editing software, internet, or even like their travel expenses for vlogs.
Vlogs or in
Vlog.
Korean,
I wanted to say vlog. I was like,
Vlog, but
is
vlogs.
vlogs a word in the US? Vlogs.
Vlog, yeah.
Oh, okay. Vlog.
I know, it's like confusing going back English and Korean.
I was
It's
like,
vlog
wait,
in Korean. They say
브이로그?
vlog.
Yes, I was like, a little bit of
피디님 이걸
buffering.
제일 좋아하시네. 막 이런 거.
She loves it when I make like stupid mistakes. But anyways, vlogs.
Yeah.
So even when they're traveling abroad to
Yes.
make those vlogs, those expenses can be categorized expenses
it's
for
expenses.
their business, right? So and also if their home doubles as an office, which is the case for a lot of YouTubers out there, they
Yes.
can also say their electricity bill is part of their business expense as well.
I see a lot of gray area though.
There is
Right?
a lot of gray area. It's how are you going to argue if
Yes.
there's like other people living in your house?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's also take a closer look at how much YouTubers in Korea actually make.
Yes.
So among the top 1% of earners in the 1% media creator category, 393 individuals made a combined 333 billion Korean won in 2022.
Oh.
That is an average for one person, 848 million won, 8억 per person for that year.
That's the top
1%.
1%.
Top 1%. For about almost 400 people in Korea. Now, for the top 10%, total earnings reached about 860 billion won. And even more surprising is the younger YouTubers that's becoming hot these days, which is YouTubers under the age of 20. There's about 1,300 of them. And they are reported earning more than 100 million won annually. 1억 a year. Those under 20. And this is also a 2.5-fold increase from 2020. So we're seeing a lot more of young YouTubers making bigger bucks.
That's
in
the trend.
Recent days.
Wow. But what about like donations like during the live shows? I've seen it where they're like, live streaming and then there's a thing or button or I've never done it, so I don't know how it works.
Right.
I've seen it though.
And I've seen it as well, and I know a lot of the YouTubers or online streamers make a lot of money from those donations.
So how does that
that's
work?
a tricky part. Are you going to is that your
tracked?
income?
Yeah.
Do you have to report that as well? You actually do have to report it technically.
You're supposed to.
Right. But it is a so-called tax blind spot. And there's currently no system in place to fully, tax that sort of income that comes in the form of donation.
Okay.
And the NTS right now is exploring ways to address this as well.
Oh, well, I hope they explore away because, because we're all paying taxes on our income.
Right.
So I'm just saying. So what else do we need to know?
We have a little bit more time.
Yes.
So,
the important stuff, Leon. What do we need to know?
Right. The one more thing that we can talk about. There's the issue of, the group of high-earning YouTubers. They're trying to avoid taxes. I'm not sure if you've seen it on the news lately, but that's been a big issue. So last year, 25 of the high-income YouTubers and, all influencers as well, they were targeted by the NTS for tax evasion because they had falsely registered their businesses in areas with high tax reductions, which is areas that is not part of capital Seoul, to avoid the comprehensive income tax. So they claim to operate in regions offering up to 100% tax reductions, which of course is the more rural area of Korea, while they're actually, of course, based and working in Seoul. So, they are trying to get away from paying taxes.
Yes.
But
I'm just saying, though, because there's a lot of competition, though, on YouTube.
Did you know we talked about polarization just before, but there's a lot of polarization happening in the YouTube world as well. So even though we're talking about high earners in the for YouTubers,
not everybody makes that
majority
much.
of them,
more
than half actually earns less than 60만 won per year.
Per year.
And so
That's
these days the
note.
trend, a lot of people YouTubers are posting videos of how they're gonna say, I'm quitting because I'm not earning enough.
All right. Well, thank you for delving into the world of this. Very interesting, and people commenting on how interesting this was. So we'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Leon.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, everybody. It's time to wrap up hour number 1 with this song, 그대와 함께 by The Blue. I'll be back at 8.
나의 눈을 봐요 그대의 눈빛 속에 내가 들어갈 수 있도록 이제는 솔직하게 얘기해봐요 더 이상 숨기지 말고 그대여 두 눈을 감아도 눈을 뜨지 않아도 마음은 언제나 그대 숨겨 느낄 수 있도록 내 곁에 있어요 지금 이대로 지난 오랜 시간 동안 한 번도 말을 안 했지만 그대 위한 내 마음은 그대로인 것 처음 만난 순간부터 나의 마지막 그날까지 그대만이 나의 마음속에 언제까지나 지난 오랜 시간 동안
Your bridge to the world. BEFM 부산 영어방송.
Two, having too many appliances on the power outlet is dangerous. Always unplug all the appliances that you're not currently using.
Number 3. Check the heater is off before leaving the house. Leaving it on for an extended period of time can cause a fire.
Let's all take part in preventing fire and have warm and safe winter this year.
Tune into BEFM 부산영어방송 for an emergency broadcast.
This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산영어방송.
지역 경제가 힘차게 출발합니다. 기업들이 고객을 향해 더 빨리 가려면 방송 광고라는 X를 밟으세요. 경제도 기업도 더 힘차게 달려가니까요. 방송 광고의 작은 힘, 경제의 큰 힘입니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning,
Dynamic Busan.
yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded. What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
The time is now 8 o'clock and this is News Highlights. National Assembly mandates special counsel on martial law incident. The National Assembly passed a bill mandating a permanent special counsel to investigate insurrection charges against President Yoon Suk-yeol, former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun, and Army Chief of Staff General Park Han-soo, plus other officials involved in the martial law declaration. The bill passed in a 210 to 633 vote yesterday, with 14 abstentions. Lawmakers of the ruling People Power Party, PPP, cast their votes as the party decided not to adopt a party line on the vote. Under a permanent special counsel, the president cannot exercise his right to veto, although he can delay the appointment of the council. National Assembly passes downsized 2025 budget bill. The National Assembly yesterday passed a 673.3 trillion won budget for next year in a 183 to 94 vote with one abstention. The Democratic Party, DP, cut 4.1 trillion won from the government proposal, mainly from the government's reserve fund and presidential special activity expenses. It marks the first time in constitutional history that a budget plan submitted by the government was passed in the plenary session without bipartisan agreement. Court approves arrest warrant for ex-defense minister. The Seoul Central District Court issued an arrest warrant for former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun for his role in the short-lived martial law imposition last week. Kim did not attend the warrant hearing yesterday and issued a statement through his legal counsel, deeply apologizing for causing great anxiety and inconvenience to the people. The warrant's issuance marks the first court decision in an expanding investigation into the martial law case. The prosecution is now expected to pick up pace in its investigation against President Yoon Suk-yeol. Han Gang receives Nobel Prize in Literature. Novelist Han Gang received a diplomat and a Nobel medal from Sweden's King Carl Gustaf XVI during a ceremony Tuesday local time at the concert hall in Stockholm, Sweden. Swedish novelist Ellen Mattsson, a permanent member of the Nobel Foundation, highlighted Han's work during the ceremony, noting that her novels draw from historical experiences, which are often symbolized by the colors white and red, to uncover universal truths. She has made history as the first Korean and first Asian woman to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature. Israel strikes hundreds of military targets in Syria. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, confirmed it carried out attacks on more than 350 targets across Syria, including the country's naval fleet, to neutralize its military assets. In northern Syria, Turkish forces bombed Kurdish targets, a sign that outside powers have been moving to shore up their interests after the fall of the Assad regime. Meanwhile, rebels named Mohammed al-Bashir as interim prime minister to head Syria's transitional government. And this was News Highlights. It's now time for issue Wagle. Haley's back in the studio.
I'm back.
Yes. We have some woggly stuff going on in our chat room on NoTube as well.
One of our own's going to be on our airwaves.
Yeah, later on tonight at around 6-ish. Well, if you're interested, you're going to have to tune in later on to one of our sister programs. But we're going to dive into our first, related stories, martial law and impeachment-related stories, but woggle style because this is our segment. Many people are not happy that ruling party lawmakers walked out during the impeachment vote last Saturday, and they are making their opinions very clear.
Right. So if there's one lesson to be learned from this whole thing that's going on is that South Koreans are very politically engaged, but also make it K-pop is kind of what's been happening. I've covered previously on Monday how a lot of the K-pop fans have brought out their K-pop light sticks instead of candles. And then some have, it seems, taken things too far, though. And we'll get to kind of the K-pop-ish aspect of it.
Yes.
But of course, as citizens of a democratic nation, it is within our right to make our voices be known. However, not if you danger someone, not if you put somebody in danger.
Yes.
So lawmakers on both sides have become targets of these massive text message campaigns and then some. So their personal cell phone numbers have been leaked to the public, and it's kind of a long-standing practice in South Korean politics for constituents to send messages to their elected officials. Their phone numbers are not officially, but they're just kind of out there on the internet.
Yes.
And people have been apparently sending messages after messages, urging them to vote for impeachment and criticizing the lawmakers. One freshman lawmaker, so first-year lawmaker, said that they've have over 100,000 unread messages.
100,000?
100,000. And this has led to some of them installing applications that apparently can filter out messages from people who are not on their contact list.
Oh.
And then some found out that people who are on their contact list also sent them messages criticizing them.
Okay.
So yeah, your friends list might get a little bit altered. On the other hand, the People Power Party freshman lawmaker Kim Sang-uk, who returned to the National Assembly on Saturday, he said that he has gotten death threats. And he has had to kind of go into hiding, meaning like he hasn't been able to go to his office. And lawmaker Kim Jae-seop received a sign with a box cutter calling for him to vote on impeachment. His office has received funeral wreaths with ribbons saying that he's an accomplice to treason. His office has been egged, and same thing has happened with a lot of People Power Party lawmakers. Going back to the funeral wreaths thing, this is I don't want to say common, but it does happen in K-pop where when fans are kind of unhappy with especially what the agency is doing, they will send funeral wreaths to the agencies.
Right.
And that seems that it's kind of transpired over to politics as well.
Indeed. So that's what's going on in that realm. Let's move on, though. Let's go back to this story as well about the killing of a U.S. healthcare company CEO and the police. They have finally caught the suspect after days this went down, right?
Right. So this is a case of a United Healthcare CEO being gunned down in the middle of Manhattan. The suspect has been caught after a days-long manhunt across the city, and it seems to corroborate the theory that some have had that frustrations about the U.S. private healthcare system may have at least played a part. So the suspect has been identified as Luigi Mangione, and he was caught at a fast food joint in Pennsylvania on Monday local time. Apparently, one of the customers recognized him, and an employee phoned it in.
Yes.
So because he was charged in Pennsylvania, and this is what we need to know about the U.S. criminal justice system, state laws states have jurisdiction. So because he was caught in Pennsylvania, he didn't commit the alleged murder in Pennsylvania. He's been charged with forgery, carrying a firearm without a license. It seems that the gun was even 3D printed. Tampering with records or identification, and possessing false fake IDs.
Okay.
And he will be charged with murder in New York, but he's fighting extradition to New York. So he's trying to stay in Pennsylvania, where his lawyer is trying to get him. So he was brought into court for his warrant hearing, hearing, and then he was heard yelling, quote, "It's completely out of touch and an insult to the intelligence of the American people. It's lived experience." But the police kind of rushed him into the courthouse, so we don't have context as to what he meant by that.
Okay. Well, what do we know about the suspect himself, the motives maybe behind this?
Right. So the police also got hold of this handwritten document, kind of his manifesto. It was a 2-page manifesto, but just to give you kind of snippets of key parts, it said these parasites had it coming. So he called them 기생충, and them being presumably the higher ups in the healthcare system, judging from what he allegedly did.
Okay.
And he expressed ill will towards corporate America. He also criticized the healthcare industry, including the cost of healthcare, and asked why, because the U.S. has one of the most expensive healthcare in the world, but it has poor life expectancy. By the way, for reference, it was ranked 49th in the world in 2022. It's actually expected to drop to 66th place in 2050.
I see.
He's also maintained an active social media presence, and which is what has kind of allowed us to glean into his further motivations. Although keep in mind, these are kind of speculations based on what we've seen on social media.
Okay.
So he's 26 years old. He comes from a very wealthy family in Maryland. He kind of had this privileged upbringing, it seems. He went to a private high school. He was a valedictorian of his high school. Went to University of Pennsylvania, which is an Ivy League school. Majored in, I believe, computer engineering, computer sciences. And but it seems he's also had health challenges, especially a back issue. On his social media profile, his top banner photo is of an x-ray photo, presumably after spinal surgery. He has pins and plates on his neck and back. So people have speculated, once again, this may be where the frustration came from.
Well, definitely, why we are covering this story. It's a major story stateside right now. So thank you for letting us know what happened. Our next story is going to take us to Thailand, where a singer has died of blood poisoning after receiving a massage. And I saw this and I was just like, what?
Kind of sent chills.
Yes.
And it's, by the way, a little bit of a warning. It's not violent, but it's visceral. Like, we're going to be talking about physical, like, bone cracking and pain, things like that. Okay. So very young singer, 20-year-old singer, known for her stage name Ping Chayada. She died on Sunday local time allegedly after multiple sessions at a local massage parlor. One of them, or some of them, including this neck twisting treatment. You know, when you go to a chiropractor or massage, they'll kind of crack your neck or crack your back.
Right.
So she apparently, this all began in October, where she started receiving some massages for her neck and shoulder pain. Apparently, the massages included neck twisting. So after the first session, she suffered some pain, so she went back for the massages. After that, the pain basically grew progressively worse with symptoms being added, including numbness and even stiffness. But she just went back because she had no idea what was causing it. So examinations show that after she wound up going to the hospital, she didn't have a broken neck, but suffered a neurological disorder from an inflamed spinal cord.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
So, and then after situations got worse and worse and worse, on November 22nd, she was rushed to the hospital, admitted to the intensive care unit, 중환자실, and she died on December 8th from what's called septicemia or blood poisoning.
I see.
So the local health authorities are looking into whether that particular spa massage parlor provided proper services in accordance with traditional Thai massage standards. However, so of course, the authorities are still trying to figure out if the neck twisting did cause the blood poisoning or at least played a part.
Okay.
However, experts do say that severely twisting or popping your neck, it can damage your spinal artery, and it in rare cases could even lead to paralysis.
Oh, Bobby.
Right.
So this is serious.
Yeah.
And I know that, many people go to Thailand for Thai massages.
Right.
Or even get Thai massages here domestically as
there
well.
are a lot of places here as well.
Yes.
Be aware. Right.
Absolutely. For our final story, I first want to ask our waivers with children. Okay, if you are a parent, if they have been able to or tried explaining like the current political situation to their children, because this is pretty challenging depending on how old your children may be. And here we have a story about a teacher who went, we'll say about it in a very creative way.
Right. And opinions are torn even on the comment threads, and I'll let you be the judge, so let us know. So this is a teacher who is a homeroom teacher for second graders, and as an aunt of a nephew who's in that exact age group.
Yes.
It's an odd age where they do sense what's like, he will watch the news and ask me, but then also, how are you going to explain martial law?
And like, there's a lot of like difficult words that are
So it is challenging. So this is from a school in Gangwon who came up with this particular method. So the teacher, it seems that he or she kind of spontaneously got an idea when they walked into the class, and a student told on the teacher that so-and-so hit so-and-so. Right. And it sometimes happens.
Yes.
And then this prompted the teacher to make Kim 선생님 법, a law set by Mr. or Ms. Kim.
Yes.
Number one, and you can see the full list, if someone hits you, you can hit them back. And then you have to follow it. If you don't follow these laws, you'll get, I'm going to say punished, but the Korean word he or she uses 처단.
처단.
Not 처벌, which is kind of what we do for like discipline, but 처단 it's very like legal, political, it's very harsh.
Yes.
Rule number 2, if someone hits their friend, that person cannot speak for an hour. And so on and so forth. The person who hit their friend will be the last in line to go to lunch.
Yes.
If you don't prepare for a class, you cannot participate in extracurricular or a third and fourth period seems like kind of student club activities with the upper class kids.
Yes.
So on and so forth. And by the way, that punishment is that you have to leave school, is at least what the teacher told the second graders.
Okay.
Because some kids, they're kids, didn't prepare for the class. They were held back. They were withheld from going to their third and fourth period class activities.
Okay.
So the sixth graders, who I believe are like mentors or at least like the club leaders, came down to the classroom to see what was going on.
Sure.
It seems that apparently the sixth graders were they were in cahoots. They were told about this before. So they protested for the little kids. They're like, that's not fair. And then began chanting. Let's get rid of the teacher. 김 선생님을 쫓아내자. So the second graders got involved, so in kind of a political protest, or at least a protest. After this, the kids made their own laws, 우리 반법, our class laws, to override the teacher's laws. I'm telling you, it's very interesting. Please keep in mind, these are 8th graders. Number 1, the teacher cannot make teacher's laws.
Okay.
Number 2, the teacher is a fool. 김 선생님은 바보다. And number 3, we should have hit the teacher. 김 선생님은 우리에게 맞았어야 한다. Once again, they're second graders, but rule number 1 seems legitimate. So the teacher told the press that this incident has taught him or her that young children do react the same way to injustices as adults do, and kids are basically small citizens of a democracy. What do you think, listeners? I'm curious.
Yeah, this might be divisive. There are varied comments. So let's hear what you guys think. So
I would also love ideas as to how you address difficult topics, not just political, but even other emotional topics with little kids.
Indeed. Well, thank you for giving us a lot of food for thought. We'll think about this one and we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.
All right, let's get to your traffic and weather updated. It is now 18 past the hour. Here's your updated traffic report. There's congestion on 관문대로 from Pangnam Tunnel to Baekyang Tunnel. Also, it looks backed up on 충렬대로 from Minam intersection to Daesung intersection. Likewise, very slow on Gwangan-daegu, that top portion going towards Daeyeon overpass. very congested. As for the weather, it's currently 3 degrees Celsius under partially cloudy skies. The daytime high is expected to go up to 12 degrees, so slightly warmer than yesterday. There is still a dry weather special alert in place over Busan. Across the country, cloudy across some parts, especially Gangwon and Gyeongbuk, which might see light rain or snow, and there is heavy fog in some inland areas. Please be aware of this and be careful as you head out today. This was your traffic and weather. And this is Jessie J, a man with the bag.
Oh, Mr. Kringle is soon gonna jingle the bells that'll tingle all your troubles away. Everybody's waiting for the man with the bag, 'cause Christmas is coming again. He's got a sleigh full, it's not gonna stay full. He's got stuff to drop at every stop of the way. Everybody's waiting for the man with the bag, 'cause Christmas is coming again. He'll be here with the answer to the prayers that you made through the year. You'll get yours if you've done everything you should. Extra special good, he'll make this December the one you'll remember, the best and the merriest you ever did have. Everybody's waiting for the man with the bag. Christmas is here again. You've made through the years, you'll get yours if you've done everything you should. Extra special good, he'll make this December the one you'll remember, the best and the merriest you ever did have. Everybody's waiting, they're all congregating, waiting for the man with the bag. Merry Christmas.
Getting us into the mood because it's December. Hey, so let's go over our text topic. I'm gonna read your responses. The text topic today was about, how far have you gone or are willing to go for the people or things you really, truly love? What about Umberto, who says this? I was flying from California to Chicago twice a month to see my girlfriend. I did it for 6 months. And after that, I told her, let's get married, because it's getting kind of expensive. I love your humor, but yes, they're married now. So apparently, all that for love, it worked out for you and your lovely wife. 가보자고 Waver says this, the most difficult thing for me that I can do for people that I love is loving them the way, exactly just who they are and never trying to change them. That is restraint. That takes a lot of patience. And yes, that is a way of expressing love. Not trying to change someone, that can be difficult, especially if you're very close with them. And we also have a message from Taejin, who says this. 저는 월화수목금 퇴근길 엄마한테 전화를 해요. 자식을 키워보고 부모가 되니 부모님의 소중함을 느낍니다. 매일 전화로 비슷한 대화 똑같은 말을 주고받아도 40분 금방 가요. 어느 한 날 목소리가 듣고 싶어 전화할 때 그분이 세상에 없다고 인정할 때 굉장히 보고 싶고 슬플 것 같아요. 그래서 앞으로도 쭉 안부 전화할 거예요. I was so moved by this message. He mentioned that he calls his mother Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. On his way home from work, every day he calls his mom. And we all know Taejin is married, with 2 lovely kids, but he calls his mom. And this is what kind of surprised me. He speaks with her every day, 30 to 40 minutes. That's quite long if you think about it. And even though he says, they talk about everyday mundane things, he thinks about how sad it will be. Like one day, obviously, our parents do pass away, that it might be really, really sad. So that he is making the most of his phone calls with his mom. What a good son you are, a good person you are. So thank you for sharing all of your messages. But now we're going to get to our special interview. All right, Wavers, as Syria transitions into a new chapter following the collapse of the Assad regime, questions loom over the country's political future. With the opposition, will the opposition be able to lead? And then there are obviously broader implications for the region itself. And while the streets of Damascus echo with celebrations, uncertainties still loom regarding things like governance, minority rights, and regional stability. And opposition forces, including controversial figures like Abu Muhammad al-Golani, leader of the Syrian rebel group HTS. There are pledges now of inclusivity and reform, but there are still concerns. Let's hear more about this. We have invited William Muck, who's a professor of political science at North Central College. Let's say hi to him. Hi, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, Professor, let's begin with this. How significant is this, the collapse of the Assad regime, not just for Syria, but for the region itself?
Well, it's significant, and I would say it's historic, right? We think about that this regime, the family regime, has been in power for over 50 years. This is a brutally repressive regime, a regime that's used chemical weapons on its own people. So the ability to overthrow a government like that is dramatic. I think we could also put it in the context of the Arab Spring. So this civil war and the conflict that's been playing out there really originated with the Arab Spring in 2011. That effort that overturned governments in Tunisia and Egypt, Yemen, and Libya, right? So we can now think about this conflict and the removal of the Assad regime as being part of the Arab Spring. Now, it took 13 more years to bring that about, but I really think this is a historic movement. There is a lot to come, and we can talk about that, but I think it's really, really important to appreciate the historic significance of this event.
Right. So before we look into the future, I also want to touch upon the prisoners, people who have been in prison, sometimes for several years. So we've been hearing about the release of such prisoners, but what's going to happen to them? I mean, and also like the whole human rights issues surrounding that. Can we cover that also?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what we'll see over the next couple weeks is hopefully as many people can be released as possible. What they're seeing is they go into these prisons. There's multiple levels. A lot of the individuals have been detained for a long period of time, including, U.S. citizens. There's lots of attention on that. So, I think the hope is get as many of them out, get them repatriated, and provide them with the care that they need. The reality is that we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people that over the years have been taken by the government. Some of them probably are no longer with us. So it's going to be a dark story as they continue to go in and as they have more accounts of how repressive the Assad regime was.
Indeed. So can we now turn our attention to the immediate challenges that Syria faces as it transitions with a new government?
Yeah, absolutely, right? So you think about Syria it's a complex place with a diversity of different groups and minorities, right? And so as you move forward, they've got to find a way to establish a government that addresses all of those needs, right? And so in the very early stages, as you transition into a new political system, there's always the desire for some groups to go a different direction. And that's the real challenge. How do you keep everybody engaged? How do you keep everybody part of this process and not going in different directions, not using violence, right? That is the most immediate challenge. How do you keep everybody working together to establish this new governmental regime?
Indeed. And so, Professor, what about Bashar al-Assad? Because what we from what we understand, he has fled to Russia, where he, I believe, has been granted asylum, he and his family members. So what do we know on that front?
We don't know much yet, right? We don't know. All we know is that Russia has acknowledged that he is there. We don't know the details. We don't know if he's going to get full asylum, how long he'll stay there. We don't know anything about his finances. It is likely that he is a very, very rich man, has taken a lot of his resources and family with him. We will learn more in the coming days. Russia tends to be a place where a lot of individuals go to avoid any kind of accountability. So I'm assuming over the next few weeks, we'll learn more about that.
And what about the region overall? Because we're not just talking about Syria, but there might be other entities involved. What would you make of all the different parties that are involved in what's happening right now?
This is what's really, really fascinating, right? Okay. This is going to impact international politics, but it's also going to impact Middle Eastern politics. And we can think about winners and losers. And as we think about who's leading that list of losers, I think it's Russia and Iran. They are the two that have lost the most significant influence, both in the Middle East and as well as globally. Iran is in a much, much more weakened place. Syria was a close ally to them. But at the same time, Russia is also, Russia wants to present itself as a global power.
Yes.
And losing this access, potential access in the Middle East is a big, big deal. It hurts both of them dramatically. Some are concerned that this might prompt Iran to move more quickly towards a nuclear weapon because they've lost a bit of that buffer zone. So I think there are likely to be many ripple effects from this dramatic development in Syria.
Yes. So thanks for pointing that out as well to our listeners. Let's also now talk about the risks of HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, its control in... Well, tell us a little bit about this group first, and then maybe its control in the aftermath of Assad's fall.
This is also a really, really interesting dynamic as we think about it, because they have a complicated past. And Golani, in particular, their leader, has somebody who has ties to Al-Qaeda, previous ties to Al-Qaeda,
yes.
Had previous ties to ISIS. These are complicating things. The U.S. government has them on their terrorist watch list. So this is like, now he has said that he is separated from that, but this makes any sort of international diplomatic activity complicated. And states around the world will have to decide, is this somebody you want to work with? Now, he may not be perfect, but he may still be preferable to others as we think about, other actors that are there.
Yes.
And do they see him as a reliable, and is this organization a reliable entity that can help move Syria in a better direction? International politics is often a land of lousy options, right? And so I think states will have to decide, is this better than the alternative? And we simply don't know yet.
I see. So we're going to have to wait and see on that front. And let's also turn to other actors, the U.S. and Israel. Airstrikes, the implications of such for Syria's recovery.
Well, I think what we're seeing both from the United States and Israel is uncertainty. So regional and global powers don't like uncertainty. And so what Israel is doing, I think we can say what they're trying to do is create a buffer zone in the Golan Heights, right, to pursue what they see as necessary ends, going after what they argue are chemical weapon compounds. Same thing with the United States. The United States is deeply worried that a power vacuum in Syria could create the space for an organization like ISIS to return. So what we've seen now in the United States is targeting that ISIS infrastructure to say, we don't know what's coming in the months to come, so we are going to do what we can right now to help stabilize and minimize those threats. So you've got global actors who are pursuing their strategics in Syria right now, not knowing what the next few days will bring.
Yes, yes. And so I also want to talk about the people, most importantly, Syrians, including minorities. So how are they reacting to the fall of the Assad regime? So I would expect there to be jubilance, a sense of relief.
I think that's right. I think in the short term, everybody is pleased that Assad is gone, right? He was terrible for the country as a whole. But I think there's also a sense of caution. You don't know what the future will bring, right? So I think there's excitement that you're removing a repressive power, but there's all this uncertainty about what comes next. And do you want to stay in Syria or do you want to flee? I think one of the things we could be watching for in the next couple of weeks is, do we see a lot of Syrians returning? So as the civil war played out, millions of Syrians fled. It created a massive global humanitarian crisis. Are those people returning or are more people leaving, right? And a lot of that will be dependent upon the situation on the ground. So I think everybody is cautiously optimistic in the short term, but again, so much over the next few weeks really determine whether those minority groups feel safe in this new system or whether they feel fearful for their protection.
Yes. And for our last question for you today, Professor, what do you think we should be kind of keeping a mindful, eye out for as this transitional government seems to be forming and moving forward? What are the key points we should be on the lookout for?
Well, we want to pay attention to what this government looks like. It would be wonderful if it was a democracy. I think that's probably a little bit optimistic early on. We want to look for a government. Is it looking to solve problems? Is it creating security and stability, right? That's the most important thing. People want to make sure they feel safe. Is it inclusive? And is it protective? And Golani, the head of the HTS, has been talking about that he wants to have an inclusive government. He wants to protect minority rights. We should watch and hold him to his word. Is that what we're seeing? And if we see that, we could say, okay, this is a good sign that the regime, or the country may be transitioning to a better political system. If that's not happening, then I think we should be a little worried. But sort of watching what is happening to those groups on the ground, is it an inclusive process? Is it targeting? That's really what I'm paying attention to.
Well, thank you so much for giving us your expertise and opinions on what's been happening after the fall of Assad. Thanks for joining us. Take care.
Thanks for having me.
This was Professor William Muck, and we talked about the aftermath of the Assad fall, and we don't have details, as he said, as to what's happening with Bashar al-Assad and his family, but we can look forward to maybe the changes in the transition in Syria and the Middle East. This was your special interview. Let's get to a little song break here. Here it is, Love Me Like You Do by Ellie Goulding.
You're the color of my blood. You're the cure, you're the pain. You're the only thing I wanna touch. Never knew that it could mean so much. So much. You're the fear, I don't care, 'cause I've never been so high. Follow me through the dark. Let me take you past the satellites. You can see the world you brought to life, to life. So love me like you do, la la, love me like you do. Love me like you do, la la, love me like you do. Touch me like you do, ta ta, touch me like you do. What are you waiting for? Fading in, fading out, on the edge of paradise. Every inch of your skin is a holy grail I've gotta find. Only you can set my heart on fire, on fire. Yeah, I'll let you set the pace, 'cause I'm not thinking straight. My head's spinning around, I can't see clear no more. What are you waiting for?
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
It's, excuse me, time for me to cough. And I'm perfectly, caught something in my throat. Hey, so we have Jennifer in the studio for Skills 101. I'm okay. I'm not sick.
Are you sure?
Yes, no. Sometimes you just like swallow wrong, like a little pocket of air, and then it just gets caught.
or your throat gets dry.
Right. So Umberto, don't worry. I have water.
I sound a bit nasally this morning.
Everybody does these days. Right. Hey, so Jennifer, I want to ask you about our text topic.
Okay, what is it?
I don't know. Are you a 사랑꾼? Let's find out.
No.
Because the question. No. This is the question. How far have you gone, or are you willing to go for something or a person you love? So it doesn't have to be like a romantic something or someone. It can be for anything. Love of food, love of travel, love of something or someone.
Love of
How far?
Food.
Oh, food.
I can travel miles for love of food.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How far would you travel? And how long would you wait?
No, waiting is different.
Oh, it's different.
Yeah, because I don't like waiting outside in cold weather or under the heat.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm willing to drive a long distance if there's like really like
something really good.
something really nice.
But hopefully no long wait time, right?
No. Just to pick it up there, like strawberry cake. There's my favorite cafe that sells strawberry cake that I like, and it's quite far away. So
I need the details on that.
Yeah.
Off air. Okay. We're going to jump into Skills 101. What do you have for us?
Today's topic is my personal favorite, the power of gratitude journaling. Because it has changed my life so much since I started it.
Yes. So maybe you can share with our listeners what exactly this is, gratitude journaling.
네, 감사일기입니다. It's a simple practice where you write down things you're thankful for, like every day or a weekly or even monthly basis. Whenever you can. It helps focus your attention on the positive aspects of life, even during challenging times. So it helps us not to compare ourselves with others.
This actually, I used to do this on a daily basis. And when I was doing it, it was kind of a rule that I kept to myself. Writing down 3 just really minor things that I am grateful for. So I used to do it daily, like in the morning. Like write it down. And now
that's
I feel
good.
like I want to go back to it. I kind of fell off the wagon for a while. But while I was doing it, it was pretty good.
I don't do it every day.
Yes.
But I do it like weekly, once a week.
Weekly. Okay. Maybe I can do that. Because the daily thing, it kind of got cumbersome. Okay.
It becomes a homework, right?
Yes. So how does writing something down make a difference?
So writing things down makes your gratitude more tangible. And research shows it strengthens the neutral pathway associated with positivity, improving your emotional resilience and mental well-being. Plus, it encourages mindfulness by anchoring you in the present moment.
Oh, so do you think that journaling, gratitude journaling might work for everybody or just for certain people?
That's a good question. Well, it's a universal tool.
Yes.
How people approach it can differ so much. Some might prefer writing long entries about specific events, which is not me.
Okay.
While others focus on short lists. The key is finding what resonates with you.
I see. And by the way, resonate was like one of the runners up for Merriam-Webster's dictionary, the word of the year. There were like several.
Really?
But resonate was one of the words, right?
Okay.
So does gratitude journaling also maybe have some physical benefits?
Oh, it does. Studies reveal that practicing gratitude can lower blood pressure, reduce stress, and even improve sleep quality. So when you're less stressed and sleep better, your heart rate stabilizes and your overall health improves.
Yes.
So I think it's better to do it like right before you go to bed or first thing in the morning. Then you can kick off your day with more positive mood.
That's what I found. Like when I did do it like pretty like much every day, I would do it in the morning, and then like that would kind of put me in a good mood right away. Because, you know, sometimes you don't want to get up or sometimes you're looking forward to something like, I have that on my planner and I'm not looking forward to it. But then it kind of puts, at least for me, it put me in a positive mindset.
Yeah, you have something to look forward to.
Yes.
Right?
So it's not just about mental health. So it seems like it's like a whole body experience. So let's talk about how you would recommend about, you know, how we can begin.
Okay. Start small. Grab a notebook or even your phone and jot down 3 things like you did.
Yes.
You're grateful for each day. Since my handwriting is not so great, I usually write mine on my laptop. So they don't have to be a big grand event. Even appreciating a small cup of coffee counts.
Yes. So I think that sounds really doable, what you're saying right now. But what about people who are like super, super busy, busier than you and I? What can they do to like, you know, how do you make time?
I think it's important to make it a routine. Even just a minute before bedtime or during your morning coffee. That works.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be lengthy. Just jotting down a single thought, it's still powerful. And digital tools like apps or notes on your phone can make it even easier. Because for me, writing down like something, it's hard.
Yes,
handwriting.
it can be.
Yeah, so just using my phone, using my laptop.
Okay.
It makes life easier.
And what about for people who are feeling a little skeptical? Because like, let's see, like Tommy, what did Tommy say? He's like, like,
skeptical.
No, but he mentioned like, are there people 이게 쓰는 분 없을 듯요? Like, you know, he's questioning, do people actually do this?
Not like really diary, but just like 3 things or even
short
just
stuff.
one thing. Like, I'm very grateful. The weather is nice. I'm grateful my family members are all healthy. And I meet BFM listeners. Yeah. So those small things.
Right. So when we talk about this is like 감사일기, like in terms of family's health, I think sometimes we take that for granted until someone gets sick.
Yeah.
And then you think like, oh my gosh, like you feel like your world is kind of crumbling down. So this is something that we should not take for granted, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
I totally agree.
So what about for people who really struggle to find things to be grateful for? Because, you know, I'm sure everybody out there has been through like a dark tunnel.
Yeah.
You're kind of feeling like really blue and really down.
Some days you feel
It's
like
tough.
everything is going wrong.
Yes.
That's normal, especially during tough times. But when you can start the basic things like having you can start with basic things like, oh, I'm so grateful for having a house. Yeah, having a safe place to live.
A roof over our head.
Yeah, or a friend to talk to. The act of searching trains your brain to notice positives, which gets easier over time. So so you don't struggle so much.
Right. So it's kind of like working out, building a muscle.
Oh, yes.
It might take some work, right?
Yeah.
So are there common mistakes that people make with their 감사일기, their gratitude journaling?
Oh, yes. And I did that. I did this including, I did this in the beginning.
Yes.
Some people rush through it and treat it as a chore, like homework.
그러니까 꼭 해야 되니까 어쩔 때 귀찮잖아요, right?
The key is to be intentional. Take a moment to really feel the gratitude. Really be thankful. Quality over quantity. So lengthy journaling is not important.
Quality over quantity. So I think that's good advice. Do you think gratitude journaling can help with relationships? Because we often talk about relationships.
Definitely. Expressing your gratitude for others strengthens connections. For example, writing down something kind to your partner or friend can deepen your appreciation for them. And it also makes you feel better. And then also when you share it, it's even more impactful.
That I agree with the sharing because there was like like you get into little tiffs with family members, but then like I was really grinding, like I'm thankful.
Yeah.
That my roommate does this. And then I shared that, gratitude with him. And it was like kind of amazing how kind of brightened up his mood.
Yeah.
And then it made me feel better because I shared that, whatever minuscule amount of gratitude I had at that moment, right? Because it doesn't have to be grand, right?
Exactly. Sharing part is important.
Yes.
And also it lowers your anger.
덜 화날 수 있어요. So one last question. What do you do on days where it really feels just literally like impossible? Like I cannot find one thing to be grateful for. I mean, there's a lot going on right now, but even in your personal life, it could be real noisy.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend?
Those days can be the hardest, but they are also when the practice matters the most. Acknowledge how you're feeling, then try to find even one tiny thing, like the warmth of your blanket, the moment of fresh air, the music.
Yes. So there are ways to find this really small, everyday, simple things that we can be grateful for. I like that.
Just Catherine's smile makes me happy. So
so sweet.
It's a small thing.
No, and your segment always brings so much positivity, not just to me.
Oh, thank you.
And it kind of reminds me I got to get back and do this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and next time I speak to this person, I'm going to try this method. So, well, thank you.
When I talk about these things, it also motivates myself as well. So, it helps me as well.
Yes.
But it doesn't have to be perfect or elaborate on everything. We can start small, just to take a moment to reflect and write, and it can transform your outlook over time.
Well, I know what my New Year's resolution, at least one of them, is going to be. It's to get back to gratitude journaling. So thank you for inspiring at least definitely me, and I'm sure many people out there as well.
Always a pleasure.
All right, everybody. This was Jennifer with Skills 101. This is definitely, this is definitely something we can do, all of us, individually. And as Jennifer said, it doesn't have to be long nor elaborate. It can be short, simple, concise, but that is something that we can definitely do. All right, so it is already Wednesday, and I do also want to remind you, the listeners, that we need to prevent wildfires in winter with strong winds and dry weather, incinerating rice paddies or fields, agricultural residue or byproducts, and trash. That is all banned right now, obviously, always. Smoking and littering cigarette butts in forests or nearby forests is also banned. Please do not carry lighters or burners or other materials as such when you enter the mountains. And if you do start a fire or bring flames into forests or areas near forests, you may be subject to fines of up to 1 million won. And if your negligence causes a wildfire, you may be subject to up to 3 years in prison or up to 30 million won in fines. And this was a message from the Ministry of the Interior and Safety and the Korea Forest Service. As for you, the waivers out there, I hope we can take a page out of Jennifer's book and, express our gratitude and love for the people around us today. For our final song, we're going to get to this one, 감사 by Kim Dong-yul, which is perfect to take us out. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.
눈부신 햇살이 오늘도 나를 감싸며 살아있음을 그대에게 난 감사해요. 부족한 사람인 걸 잊을 수 없도록 늘 함께 할게요. 단 한순간에도 나의 사랑이란 걸 아파하지 않도록 그댈 사랑할게요. 이제야 너 태어나 그 이유를 할 것만 같아요. 그대를 만나 죽도록 사랑하는 게 누군가 주신 내 삶의 이유라면 더 이상 나에게 그 무엇도 바랄 게 없어요. 지금처럼만 서로를 사랑하는 게 누군가 주신 나의 행복이죠.
Your bridge to the world. BEFM 부산 영어방송.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는 다양한 축제로 늘 풍성합니다. 봄의 시작을 알리는 봄꽃 축제부터 부산의 여름을 만끽하는 바다 축제, 전 세계 영화인들이 모이는 부산국제영화제와 새로운 시작의 해맞이 축제까지. 부산의 축제는 우리의 열정을 가득 담고 있습니다. 바쁜 일상은 잠시 뒤로 하고 특별한 시간을 선물 받는 바로 이곳 부산에서 우리의 삶은 축제가 됩니다. 축제로 하나 되는 부산, 여러분은 어떤 축제를 기다리시나요? 이 캠페인은 대선공익재단과 BFM 부산영어방송이 함께합니다.
These are the guidelines for action for people on prevention and response in the event of a fire in multi-use facilities. First, the facility manager should thoroughly inspect firefighting facilities. In the event of a fire, a prompt report and announcement should be made, and then check the priority evacuation support and availability of evacuation. Second, you should close the door and avoid using the elevator when you evacuate. You should also move quickly, covering your nose and mouth with a wet towel and keeping your posture low. Third, if evacuation is not possible, request rescue from a location visible from the outside, such as a window, and take measures to prevent smoke from entering the interior. This was brought to you by the Ministry of the Interior and Safety and the National Fire Agency.